By looking at the detail of the characters, enemies, bosses, and levels as a whole, the design aspect is radically different than before, and it shimmers with glorious eye candy. The characters in the game have a unique effect where the shadows and highlights are blended in very nicely. I guess it is what you could possibly say where this is beyond the concept of cell shading. But still, the 3D graphics are the best looking ones on the Wii to this date. Even the levels are uniquely created to give their own characteristics and themes as to what they are supposed to be within the levels. If you are playing a level with the bee suit, then the galaxy is mostly forest themed with honey to show you where the bees interact. If it is a haunted house setting, then you know for a fact that there will be boos and other ghosts roaming around waiting to scare you. Now you get the idea when I say that the levels have different characteristics that go along with their themes. It is well thought out. Even the more darker and grim levels like Bowser and Bowser Jr. stages make it easy to know that they are the binding force that tries to overthrow good. Even when looking at the enemies, they look very proper as to what they should look like in the 3D setting. In Super Mario 64, most of the enemies looked very blocky, but that was because the Nintendo 64 had the less impressive 64-bit graphics in their design. Super Mario Sunshine had some newer enemies that made you wonder where the Goombas and Koopa Troopers have gone off to. They are radically different. However, Super Mario Galaxy finally got it right with Mario's main foes, as their poly count and smoothness is a match made in heaven. Overall, the design is excellent. Doing a complete 180 from the MIDI compositions and Latin-styled instruments in the music from the Mario games of yesteryear, Super Mario Galaxy is presented with a big and huge orchestrated soundtrack that delivers with excellent promise and a strong presentation. The music was not headed up by Koji Kondo, even though he was one of the two people who composed music for the game, but the lead this time around was Mahito Yokota, who came into Miyamoto's camp with music in mind after his work with Koei in the Kessen, Crimson Sea, and Dynasty Warrior games. Every track in the game shows great display as to what the levels should sound like. Some of my personal favorites are the Good Egg Galaxy, Gusty Garden Galaxy, Battle Rock Galaxy, and Bowser's Galaxy Reactor. One interesting tidbit is that Yokota wanted the game to have Latin-style music in the game since previous games had the steel pans, congas, and other instruments within the music. But Kondo said no, as the game needed music to be kid-friendly, but have a huge presentation. Thus, the use of a symphony orchestra was in place for the game's original soundtrack. The sound effects are pretty good, and they are completely different with some that are recycled, but given a more crisp and clear sound, like the pipes and the Koopa Troopa voices. Voice acting is less in this game, but you do hear the voices of Charles Martinet as Mario and Samantha Kelly making her debut as Princess Peach. Jen Taylor may be more famous in the role, but her voice was way too ditzy and high-pitched for Peach's character. Samantha Kelly, on the other hand, got it right by having Peach sound more young, mature, and very lovely. Kenneth W. James makes his debut as Bowser as well. Isaac Marshall may be the original voice, but the new Bowser voice sounds pretty awesome to this day and age. Martinet, on the other hand, can still maintain Mario's voice, even though he's getting pretty old right now. All in all, the music and sound are superb, and it is one of the Wii games that has the best sound, by far. Alright guys, now it's time for a little history lesson. The game design concept is actually one that has been around for quite a while, and I'll give you the history on that. In 2000, at the Nintendo Space World Trade Show in Kyoto or Tokyo, Japan, Nintendo and Shigeru Miyamoto showcased a Super Mario 128 tech demo that was to exemplify the processing power of the Nintendo GameCube. The current main franchise's director, Yoshiaki Koizumi, desired that the spherical-based platforms would be used in future Mario games, but held back the idea on the Nintendo GameCube as he believed the concept would not be enough to pull off due to technical issues. Miyamoto suggested working on the next main series entry after development was completed for Donkey Kong Jungle Beat in 2004, with the spherical-based platform idea to become a reality. A few months later, a prototype was created with the idea realized, and the spherical-based platforms would be best suited in planetary environments in outer space, with gravity as a major feature. The spin attack became another core concept too, as the developers thought that jumping on enemies would be hard in the spherical environments. With the exchanging of numerous ideas between Miyamoto and Nintendo EAD Tokyo, Miyamoto's involvement was much needed to make Super Mario Galaxy a more polished game than before. Super Mario Galaxy finally released in Japan on November 1st, 2007, North America and on November 12, 2007, and about 4 days later in Europe. The game was met with widespread critical acclaim, and the game has sold over 8 million copies worldwide. An impressive number, but only a few million short from reaching the same number of sales that Super Mario 64 achieved. Now, what did I not like about the game? That is really hard to say, but the only error that this game offers is human error. Anything that you miss, unexpect, or hit out of will means that the fault is put onto you. This is primarily towards the mini-games where you balance a ball to the goal or race surfing in general. You have to be precise in the direction and where you want Mario to move, or you will fall off the stage and lose a life. These features only happened 2 times within the game, so it wasn't an ongoing issue overall. However, one thing that really gets my goat is the Cosmic Comet races. When you face off against your shadowy double, they can become a cheapskate and do everything to try to be the first person to reach the goal. This really aggravated me a bunch, and the number of lives lost was very big, but that did not stop me from trying to go back and win for sure. Finally, my biggest gripe in the game is the hazard of sand. Now, I like it that when you touch sand, you do not instantaneously die like you do in Super Mario 64. Instead, it temporarily brings you down for a few seconds before you die, so that you can have plenty of time to try to get back to the top. The thing that really bugs me about this, though, is the fact that you cannot jump off the sand when you reach the top. Did this game try to become way too realistic, as if you were getting sucked down into quicksand in real life? Come on, Nintendo! Mario is supposed to be cartoonish, and a game that isn't supposed to have a basis in reality. You have no idea what it was like trying to escape from quicksand, but enter limbo with no way trying to escape. Arrgh! Aside from those flaws, that is all I have wrong with Super Mario Galaxy as a whole. If you are a fan of the 3D Mario games from the days of Super Mario 64 up until now, then you are in for a galaxy filled with superbalicious candy. If you are a fan of Luigi and you wanted to finally be able to play as him in a 3D Mario game, then you can hoot and holler like it's Christmas time, because that wish is finally a reality. All you have to do to play as Luigi is to obtain all 120 Power Stars as Mario, finish the game's story a second time, and Luigi is unlocked for you to play the whole game as him. Hooray! What is actually so awesome about Luigi is that he can use all the same moves and power-ups as Mario, but he moves a lot more quicker so that you can finish the game a heck of a lot faster than before. He can jump higher than his brother, but his only downside is that he doesn't have enough oxygen to hold his breath underwater. Other than that, Luigi is really fun and a very likable character that should have a bigger role in Mario games right now. Secondly, the fact that the levels are all different based on the themes, mechanics, and characteristics is only what made the fun factor multiply itself to a higher score than before. I find that the mechanics in the levels like climbing up honey walls as B. Mario or Luigi to be very intuitive, and reaching higher places as Spring Mario or Luigi to be very unique. Not only that, but the power-ups are all jaw-dropping with awesomeness. Even though I wish there was more of a use for Flight Suit Mario or Luigi, the use for that and everything else made it more extraordinary than ever. I even like the fact that the game pays more homage to the other Mario games from the past, if it is based on the power-ups, the music, the levels, etc. It's more like a return to form with everything that is in the game. The music is a major plus, and it is the first game in a Nintendo franchise to use a fully orchestrated score than before. Even though Zelda games from Wind Waker up until now used orchestra, but they never had a full use of it like this game did. The themes to represent the levels, characters, and bosses were just incredible, and the soundtrack is a must-own for everyone to enjoy. Finally, the gameplay is enough to grab anyone's attention if they crave 3D games such as this. You have a variety of abilities and mechanics to go through, depending on the situation, and it easily prevents the game from becoming way too stale. The Wiimote and Nunchuck are used properly, and the controls make me enjoy the game even more for being very flawless overall. Even the design looks good as it captures what a 3D Mario game should look like for this generation. I have enough on my plate to talk about the good aspects, so I am getting way ahead of myself. Play it, and you'll know what I mean. Super Mario Galaxy is the first 3D platformer to introduce us to new gameplay mechanics that gives us an idea on what space-themed levels should look like. You had enough of losing hit points because of being hit with gravity after a fall? Then fear not! That problem is long gone and solved. This game is a very polished title, but that doesn't mean it's the perfect 3D Mario game yet. With intuitive gameplay, an awesome soundtrack, stellar voice work, eye-candy designs, an easy concept, and well-executed mechanics, this game truly establishes what a 3D Mario game should be like to this date, and it easily does itself justice to correct itself from the somewhat fail of Super Mario Sunshine from 5 years ago. If you have a Wii and have not picked up this game, then shame on you! 3D Mario games are resurrected with new and reused elements to make sure that the game will meet your satisfaction at any time. Without further ado, I give Super Mario Galaxy on the Nintendo Wii a perfect 10 out of 10. Miyamoto, you gave us a great Mario game for us to be proud of, and I still love it. Well, folks, that's that with Super Mario Galaxy, and I will... A sequel? Super Mario Galaxy was so successful that it scored a sequel? Oh man, no, why hasn't anybody told me about this? Well, tune in next time and I'll tell you all about it.